Welcome to Embedded FM. I'm Alicia White alongside Christopher White. This week on the show, we have the giggles. Also, we have Alvaro Prieto. If you don't know him, well, now you will. Before we get started, and maybe to calm down on these insipid giggling attacks, I'd like to remind you that the podcast awards are coming up and that I really want nominations because I'm some sort of competitive dork. So that's happening in January. Please keep your eye out. And now...
Hi, Alvaro. Welcome to the show, or whatever this is.
Hi.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm a electrical engineer, technically, but I write firmware for a living. I also make stuff at home, usually in areas I know nothing about. So mechanical and sometimes firmware and electrical and stuff like that. Yeah. Engineer.
All right. Well, I think there's a little more to it than that, but we'll get into that. And before we do it, I guess we're going to do lightning round again.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No.
That was question one.
Yes.
Okay, so these questions are going to be fairly short, and the goal is one-word answers, which we may ask for explanations for later, but we'll try to keep it, snappy. Christopher, do you want to start?
No.
Okay, favorite programming language?
C.
Programming language you think colleges should teach in the first class that CS majors are required to take?
Python.
I like that those answers aren't the same. Do you already have Star Wars tickets?
No.
What? Oh. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Android or iOS?
iOS.
Object-oriented or procedural?
Procedural.
4 p.m. drink, champagne, coffee, or Mountain Dew?
Champagne.
Oh, nice. Bendy straw or straight?
Straight.
I don't know. I thought you enjoyed the bendy straw.
You can bend straight straws.
Introvert or extrovert?
Both.
You can't be both.
Depends.
Hacking or making?
Depends.
No, this is...
You asked for one-word answers, and you're getting them.
I don't think depends. I mean, diapers or depends?
Diapers? What?
Okay, so going back to the bendy straw thing.
Yeah.
Alvaro did not grow up in the United States. He was unaware of bendy straw's existence.
Oh, we had bendy straws.
Well, how come on the champagne train you were fascinated by the champagne straw?
It was champagne with straws.
That was the incredible
That was
part.
very incredible. Yes. Yes.
And
In
they
cans.
drink really classy.
Yes,
things.
only America has bendy straws.
In a train.
Slytherin or Ravenclaw?
Whoa. Ravenclaw.
Jar Jar or Ewoks?
Ewoks.
Favorite airport?
Oh,
It can be international or domestic.
You can hate all airports.
Christopher does.
Zurich.
Zurich.
I'm out.
All right. Well, which is most important to your daily work? Soldering iron, keyboard, or mouse?
Keyboard.
For work, do you do hardware or software?
Both.
If you have to choose just one.
Software.
For fun, do you do hardware or software? If you have to choose just one.
Hardware.
Your Twitter description says traveler. What's your next goal destination?
Oh, my next one. Been thinking about going to Patagonia once I can walk again. And I've also always wanted to do the Trans-Siberian Railroad.
Well, you don't need to be able to walk for that.
Nope. But there's other things you need to walk for. And
Okay, so for those of you who aren't in the studio, which is pretty much everybody but us, Alvaro came over today, and I had this grand plan of getting him to help me maybe get a Christmas tree, because Chris wasn't able to, and Alvaro shows up with a cast on his leg, and I ask, how did you end up with this on your leg?
So we had a work holiday party on Friday, and I danced too much.
That just really, we should have done that instead of lightning round. I mean, that just says so much about you.
Yeah. It's not the first time.
So where do you work?
Planet Labs.
I believe we've heard of them. What do they do?
They make tiny Earth imaging satellites to take pictures of the Earth every day. The whole Earth. That's the goal.
And they're tiny and they're cheap and they fly in flocks. And
Yes.
who works for them?
Who works for them?
No, I just mean...
Oh, I mean, I do, and a bunch of other great people.
He's only been there a little while.
That's
Yes,
true.
I'm new.
How long have you been there?
A month and a half.
Where were you before?
Apple?
Apple.
Apple.
Yes. I asked you to be on the show a long time ago, and then you said you worked at Apple, and I'm like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
What did you do at Apple?
Most firmware engineer in an R&D group.
Can you tell us anything else?
Depends.
Come on, you don't work there anymore. What are they
Yeah.
going to do? Fire you?
I got a very nice letter after I left, reminding me of all these things I signed. Yes.
You guys designed the battery with the hump, didn't you?
No.
Nobody's going to take credit for that one.
No. Some of the things I did. One of them got mentioned, like side mentioned in a Wired article, actually, which was kind of neat. But most of the stuff is either not released, not public, or non-existent.
Or not legal.
You
Probably should say no.
No.
That's one of the things about working for a startup like Planet is that they really can't not use your work.
Yeah.
I mean, your work has to go into space because
Otherwise, why am I there? They can't.
they can't afford
Yeah.
having any extra stuff, including people.
Yeah, it's great.
So what are you doing there?
Right now, I'm a part of the manufacturing tools reliability kind of area. So I'm automating all sorts of things for testing satellites before they get launched. Well, before they get built, even. Just making sure they work.
Which is sort of important, even though they tend to launch a lot of satellites. It's
Yes.
kind of, launching is still really expensive.
Yes. It's just now that this year is going to be mission 1, which is going to be like over 100 satellites, you can't just wing it as much anymore because if there's one flaw and they all have it, that's a lot of money.
So do they all get launched? When you say mission 1, hundreds of satellites, is that one launch with all of those satellites?
So there is going to be one launch with a bunch of our satellites, and that way we can get the orbit we want, so sun synchronous. That way they're always taking pictures at the same time of day. Right now and previously, it's mostly launches from the ISS or whatever rocket has extra room, and you might be 1, 2, 8, 12 at a time.
And launches from the ISS means that
They throw them out the window.
they actually just throw them out the window.
Almost, yeah. They actually go into the ISS and these deployers, and then the astronauts mount it on the Canadarm or one of those, and then they open up a door and it spring loads out. It's really cool.
It's really cool.
There's a video of it an astronaut took, which is really cool.
So how close do they end up staying to the ISS that whole time then? Because
They don't.
they don't have a lot of velocity, but I guess their orbits decay.
Well, they're going the same speed as ISS
Right,
initially, which is
right.
yeah. So they actually use drag because there is some atmosphere to separate the satellites out, and then you can use that too.
It's like they have little wings and can use the
Solar panels.
the
Yeah.
panels. Yeah. I got a tour and it was very cool. Patrick was great. That was part of my reward for asking if any of our listeners wanted to work there.
That didn't even click when I started there. That people asked me later, "Oh, was it because it's the podcast?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I should have."
You actually knew somebody there, Shaun.
Shaun and Alex, yes.
And Shaun was on the Amp Hour that time with Chris Gamble, where it
Yes.
was like 6 hours long and it started out in Antarctica.
It was awesome. That was one of the best
Involved
shows.
giant robots as pets.
They are so cool. It's yes. But yeah, no, I heard about Planet way back with that show. And then another friend got a job there, and then I asked him to get a tour a few months ago, and then they asked me to work there.
And by accident, your tour included an interview.
Yeah, it was pretty sneaky.
So you do a lot of off-hours hacking or making, which I guess depends.
Yes.
I started the Bendy Straw story, and I never got back to why diaper versus Depends was funny, because Depends are adult diapers.
Oh.
It's a brand name.
Not aware of that.
Explaining the joke.
Yeah, but like 10 minutes later, it's like the brick joke. Yeah. Okay, so hacking or making, you've been doing a lot of stuff. What have you been working on?
Most recently, I built a portable flux capacitor for the holiday party. It was Back to the Future themed.
The injurious holiday party.
Yes.
Injurious. Whatever. Okay, so flux capacitor, did you travel through time?
I wish I could go back and tell myself to not dance so much. But no, so that was a kind of a weak project because I had no costume, so it's easier for me to build a flux capacitor than a costume.
It's true of so many things.
Well, that's what I know. Give me fabrics and I will fail.
So this was mostly lights, box,
yeah,
controller.
Some WS-2812Bs. I cut them up, put them inside some tubing, spray painted a box, and used a 10C I got at the Hackaday conference and made them pretty colors and moved. Yeah, it was very simple.
How did it go over?
How people liked it.
What were other people dressed as?
A guy was dressed as a DeLorean, which was really cool. A lot of Marty McFlys, Doc Browns.
And any Rick and Mortys?
Yes. Yep, there was. Yep.
Okay, so that was a recent project, but there have been a lot more.
Yes.
You were the guy who took apart the quadcopters.
That was about a year ago. The Proto-X's, yes. Well, one of many, but yeah, I don't know why I did it. But I guess I was bored and had one,
and left alone too long with a little tiny drone.
Yeah, it was in December, so probably not much going on, and I had a few, and it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Didn't have any dancing to do.
Well, I was recovering from hip surgery, so I couldn't dance. Yeah.
So these are the quadcopters that cost about $30. They come with a controller, and they're about the size of
half a deck of playing cards.
Yeah, they're small. I mean, really small.
They literally fit in the palm of your hand.
Yeah. And you not only took it apart and looked at this stuff inside, you also looked at the communication. What did you find there?
Yeah, so I don't know where I got the idea, but I wanted to kind of steal them, like basically be able to take them away just for fun. So I figured, okay, if I figure out the radio protocol, I can build my own controller, and then depending on how that goes, I can use it to control other people's quadcopters. So since I have no radio experience, I just tap the spy lines on the radio and use my Cellier to look at the packets. Then I generate more traffic, and then I figure out what the packet does. And then I remove the microcontroller from one of the remote controllers, and I connected an STM32 SPI just to basically use the controller as a radio. And then I could control it from my computer. And then I made it a mouse and keyboard control, which is the worst possible control for
it's
quadcopters. It's
not very intuitive.
No, it's terrible because the mouse is great. If I had two mice, it would have been great, but computers don't like that. You would need to go straight and like write your own driver, I guess. But I was able to control like forward, back, left, right with a trackball actually. And then the up and down was the keyboard, which is discrete. So you have to click, click, click up, and then it's going too high, and click, click, click down, and you overdid it, and now it's crashed. And then after that, I got a PS4 controller, and then I used that, which was much better. And I think you guys saw that at the Bring a Hack dinner. And the most I did was kind of a denial of service thing. So I was able to sniff the kind of not really key exchange, but they agree on a number, and they use that to not really encode, but just to address the packets. So if you're able to listen to that initial pairing when you turn on the remote, you can sniff the packets and also transmit as if you were that. I just don't have a powerful enough radio, so all I could do is push a button and then the quadcopter would crash.
Well,
which is fun.
Yeah, I can see how that would be quite amusing, and possibly useful to some people for larger quadcopters, but that's a separate issue.
That's a whole other radio, but yeah, that's something I would like to do if I had more time.
So you just decided this was what you were going to do one weekend.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're like, oh, this would be neat. I start doing it. I put a lot of the stuff online, and then people say, oh, that's cool, or oh, I was trying to do that, and that's very encouraging. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to double down and actually do it, and then post the results.
So it seems like you could have expanded that, and you probably already thought of this, and control multiple at once, or
yes,
record and playback, so you could
dancing quadcopters
if you want.
Yeah. So the problem with the little ones are, oh, I get it. The problem with the little ones is the control is not great. So if you could control many at the same time, they'll probably crash into each other because you have to trim them differently. I thought about many ways of doing kind of either a visual feedback of sorts to be able to control them remotely, but know where they are. That way you don't crash them.
Because they have lights.
Yes. So I thought about lights with video, but I had a weird idea with like an array of microphones because they probably have a unique sound to them.
Certainly after that one crashed into the little ball of cat fur, it had a very different sound.
Yeah. But the things I haven't done.
So you have actually been recently working on using camera to identify things with the...
Oh, the shooting robots.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about shooting robots.
So this is actually one of my earliest projects, not the laser one, but back in 2006, right after I graduated from high school, I heard about DEF CON, the conference in Vegas, and they had a DEF CON bots robot contest. And I thought it was the coolest thing. It was BB guns, autonomous BB guns that would shoot at these targets. I had absolutely no experience. I was right out of high school. I could program in QBasic and Visual Basic, PHP.
QBasic was still a thing in 2006?
I started in 2000.
I'm still boggled.
So in 2000 in 7th grade, when I moved to the US, I learned QBasic. So this robot contest seemed amazing, but it was like, I don't know anything about motors or anything. So my dad's friend was going to go and do it. And I thought, oh, maybe I can work with him. He initially said, yeah, let's work together, but then kind of backed out on me a few weeks out. So I just like, I'll do it anyway. And I got a webcam mount with some servos, a USB servo controller. I destroyed my dad's only webcam at the time. And I put it all together. And then I went to Vegas by myself to the competition. I ended up getting 5th out of 6th, which was incredible because it was mostly much older people or teams. And it was a great experience. Again, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was able to have a little robot shoot these targets autonomously. And these were infrared lit targets, which was much easier to see. I basically put some developed film in front of the webcam, and all the light was kind of orange and red, and infrared was white. So my image processing was done in Visual Basic. And since I didn't know how to interface with the webcam, I was able to tell the webcam to take a picture, and it would save a JPEG, and then I would read the JPEG, and I would split the image, and I would saturate it, so you just had black and white pixels, and I would split the image into just a grid, and I would count the number of white pixels and move in that direction until the number of white pixels was in the middle, and then I would just shoot until the light disappeared. So that's how I started. I did that 1 year, and then I went to college, and then the competition stopped happening after a few years. I couldn't make it because I was traveling and working every summer during college, so I couldn't couldn't go to Vegas for 5 days. And 2 years ago, they said they were bringing it back, but this time it's with laser beams. So
they're not shooting BBs, they're just aiming the laser.
Yeah, it's a different kind of dangerous. Well, so the first year it was these ping pong balls on a model train, and it was 5 ping pong balls that would light up blue, and they would move around in this train track, and you had to shoot them. All you had to do was shoot them. This year it was same train, a little bit faster, but it was a green laser, and it was always on laser. And hitting the targets with the laser was not good enough. You had to actually send a 9600 baud encoded message with your kind of your player ID to actually register shots. So it's a little more complicated. Yep.
But you participated in...
Yes.
With the laser one.
Yeah, well, I did the laser one, I guess 2014. 2014, I had, it was a laser cut robot with a friction drive and like little pulley and belts and gear motors. And that one we got first place that time. And I won a really big quadcopter, which I later built. And I still haven't reverse engineered that one, the radio, but it was parallax something or other. It's huge. It scares me. And yeah, I tried it in my room, tied to a chair just to see if it worked, and it was terrifying. And then this year I wanted to completely change the design, and I used laser with mirrors, with galvanometers, which is super fast, but the whole image processing is different because now the camera and the laser are completely separate from each other. They're not, before I would move a camera and the laser together. So the laser's always hitting, pixel X, Y. And now the camera's static and the laser's moving. So it requires a little more math, which is fun. But again, you got to learn it.
And so did that go to DEF CON, or is it going this year?
I went this summer, and we got third place, I think. We had problem with modulating the laser. It wasn't registering the hits during the final round. So, yeah, that was fun.
What is DEF CON like? I've never been.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot bigger now. When I went in 2006, it was a few thousand people. Now it's well over 10. I don't know if it was 15,000 or something people this year. It's a hacking conference, so they have tons of security workshops, talks, all sorts of stuff. I mostly go to hang out with people and have fun. The competition was great. Now they have the DC Darknet, which is kind of a live RPG of sorts where I don't know if have you guys read the book Daemon by Daniel Suarez?
Nope.
Oh, well, it's based on a book. It's really, it's a great book actually. But they had a soldering kit. You put it together and you can actually exchange keys with people. So it encourages some social interaction because you have to go exchange keys. Then you get points for that. And they use that to, you have to go report the keys back to the Daemon, which is this computer program somewhere. And then it gives you quests to do. So, okay, your quest is to learn how to crack WP encryption, or to learn how to use PGP or use Tor. And you have to learn these things to prove that you did them, and then you get points for it. So it's a pretty interesting game where you have to learn how to lockpick. So there's these lockpick boxes, and for every lock you pick, you get more points. So it's kind of a side thing to DEF CON that's a lot of fun. This year, it's like 600 or some badges were made, and people just run around and do all sorts of fun things with them.
So who usually goes to DEF CON?
It sounds like it's a criminal training camp.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, I went when I was 18.
Please don't do anything to me. It was a joke. Everyone.
Everyone's super nice. I mean, there's everyone, right? You have the business types, you have the government people, weird hobbyists like me. That security is kind of fun, but I don't really do much in that area. I always wanted to as a kid, but never really did. Well, Natalie, I mean, you spoke to Natalie. She's a regular.
Natalie Silvanovich,
yes.
the Tamagotchi
Yes.
deconstruction person.
She gives workshops there, hardware hacking, stuff like that. So it's like less businessy Black Hat, which Black Hat is like a super business oriented, very expensive conference where people go learn about all the latest security things. And DEF CON's more fun, I would say. There's tons of parties as well. Yeah. But I mean, it's just like any big conference. Well, mostly dudes. And there's talks, there's workshops. Yeah.
So this gets back to a question I had for you about culture. You went from Apple, which has a very defined and secretive culture, to Planet, which, I mean...
Doesn't.
It doesn't. I think they described themselves as hippie scientists. They're definitely on a path to do good in the world and maybe at least break even if they're lucky. How are these different places to work?
I mean, that I know what everyone else is doing, which is new. At Apple, you might not know what the person next to you is working on. That's a thing.
Silos.
Very, very silos. At Planet, everyone talks about everything. We might not be able to tell the public about everything we talk about, but at least internally, it's incredible everything I know because they're just super open about it. They're super honest. They tell us, if they're money stuff, they tell us. If there's all the business stuff, all the technical stuff, if they have problems, they tell everyone. Every Monday, we all get together during lunch, and every team will come up and talk about what's going on. And I really like that part.
And that's a lot of startups are more transparent with the money side of things because a large part of your compensation ends up being stock options, and you need to know how much it's worth, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I still don't know how that works.
It doesn't.
Stock options?
Yeah, it's all fuzzy.
Oh, now I feel like we should go through the Snow White guide to stock options.
Well, they're actually going to have a little thing next week for us because there's a bunch of new people. So,
all right. Well, but there's what else is different? I mean, some of it's geography. Apple was in Cupertino, Planet's in San Francisco, and so there's just some innate mental change.
And I don't live in San Francisco, so that's fine.
Well, I don't know what makes those two an hour apart and mentally more than an hour apart.
Yeah, so I used to bike to work all the time, which I can't quite do anymore. It would take me a few hours. The location, it's very different. Apple had everything. I mean, I could go to the doctor right down the street, like a block down. I could, like, cafeterias all over the place, people everywhere. At Planet in San Francisco, it's a small company, right? So you can't afford doctors and all these things. But
and they bring in food, but it's going to be
a couple times a week.
Everybody's going to have some food. That's all snacks. The same. In Apple, you got all the cafeterias with their different menus.
Yes, the food was really nice. So that's different, but I mean, those are just kind of perks, which everyone has different perks. Like Planet has free massages, right? Apple, you had to pay for them, but it's, whatever.
Somebody out there is laughing really hard.
I know. I'm like, well, just things like that. It is different, but I mean, it doesn't really affect my day-to-day that much.
What about like tools and
resources? Yes. We have budgets now. It's great. Yeah, we have to be much more conscious of you can't just, buy whatever needs to get the job done, which is great. But if you're trying to make money first, you gotta be careful. Also resources, just like intellectually, right? At Apple, I worked for one of, if not the best firmware engineer of the company, which at Planet, it's very few of us that do firmware, right? So you don't have like your traditional mentors and these kind of things, which at the same time gives me much more responsibility where I actually have to do these things and think about them. I can't just wing it and then, hopefully they'll tell me if I'm wrong. Now it's a little more serious, I guess, if I screw up.
So this is your first startup.
Yes.
Do you find you're getting more done in the same amount of time? And do you find that you have wider classes of things to do?
Wider classes?
Wider classes of things to do.
Oh, yeah.
Things that you may not have even considered that you needed to do at Apple because there were 50 million people all doing, little things.
Well, I was at an interesting team at Apple. It was like a R&D kind of internal, you could say internal contracting team. We did work for all these different teams, so we were always doing different stuff. But at Planet, it's pretty similar where I am sometimes working on satellite hardware, sometimes just doing scripts or server stuff. We have a tools team that does all these great things, but they're busy sometimes, so we have to do it ourselves. And if you need something, you just go get it and make it. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll end up doing more stuff at Planet.
When I went from HP Labs to Crossbow, which was a 45, 50 person startup when I got there, it was like going without a net. I mean, I understand what you're saying about not having backup and not having all the tools. You get to try all of these things you didn't expect to. I mean, I had always believed that version control was an important integral part of embedded software, but I had never had to choose a version control system, which was what I did the first day at my new startup.
Was that before Git?
It was long before Git.
Before the dark times.
Before CVS?
I chose the nifty, shiny, scary new version control known as SVN.
Oh.
And never regretted it. But yeah, I mean, you go from having to implement X on a system to having to implement a system.
Yes.
And it is a little daunting and freeing. And you're not a pigeonhole. You're not a pigeon in the little hole anymore. Now you can try it all. Find out if maybe server-side scripts is actually more fun than what you were doing.
No.
Well, no, of course not.
But yeah. I mean, there are things that are directly affecting the company that I get to do now. If I do something very well, it's actually gonna do a lot of good. Whereas Apple, if I do something awesome or terrible, maybe no one will notice. Kind of
like, you're still gonna have giant bags of cash in the bank.
It's not all cash, though. I mean, you can't solve everything with money.
What?
It's true. You can try, but
it's easier to solve things with money.
Oh yeah, it's definitely much more comfortable. But then there's a lot of waste that goes with that as well. When you assume you have so much money, then you're just like, I just buy all these things and you never use them. Like, oh, why? But yeah, it's different.
It's different. Yeah.
But I like them. I like them both. I mean, it is different experiences. Apple is learning tons every day, just so much, and now I'm actually applying all that stuff that I learned, whether I liked to or not.
Well, there was some reasons to go back and forth from big companies to small companies because you do different kinds of learning in different spots, and it's often hard to learn the theory stuff that you might have been getting in Apple while you're applying the things. I mean, sometimes you can learn both at once, but sometimes it's just really hard to do both for yourself.
Well, a lot of the lessons I learned at Apple while I was doing it, my boss would say, "Oh, why do you do it this way? Why do you do this way? Why don't you do it this way?" And at the time, you're like, "Okay, but that's what they told me." And sometimes you look back and like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." And I'm also, I haven't been working that long, so I'm still in the whoa.
Well, before Apple, you worked at TI, so it's not like you just have built lasers that spit fire. Robots that spit fire.
Not yet.
Not yet. Fire
will happen.
Do you have plans for actual fire-spitting robots? I was joking, but you have a Gleam.
I have a lot of butane cans. Amazon, yeah, I have to do something with them.
Is Amazon shipping your packages in butane cans?
Well, no, I got at Apple, they had breakfast, and
I still want to know how this is going to lead to butane cans.
Well, exactly. So I had this awesome breakfast. I would get there like 7:30 every morning, and they have an omelet bar, and they would do it where the salad bar usually is, which means they don't have like grills. So they have these portable stoves, and I wanted a portable stove because I have an electric stove at home, and I wanted a gas one. And I figured if these guys can do this every day for 2.5 hours, these stoves are probably the best. So I saw which one they had, and then I bought one, and that takes butane cans, and they were pretty expensive locally at like the Japanese supermarket. So I got Amazon, and Amazon was like a 24-pack maybe, and it was really cheap.
Think of how much money you were saving.
Again, it seemed like a good idea at the time. So now I have them, and I don't cook as much as I thought I was going to. Yes.
Yeah. So anybody who has suggestions for Alvaro and his 23 packs of butane cans, just email the show. We'll pass along whatever your...
Well, we'll think of something.
Think of something. Didn't the Amp Hour last week talk about how you should have exploding boards, that should be part of your curriculum? No?
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I'm behind.
I'm a week behind.
That's always what I say, too.
No, I'm pretty good. I have a very long commute.
It's true.
I've listened to so many podcasts. I've read so many books. It's great.
Okay, so before TI, you worked for the National Technical Institute for the Deaf.
You looked at my LinkedIn?
I did.
Oh.
I cyberstalked you just a little bit.
Well, yeah, so that was actually at school. That was a college job. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology in New York, RIT, and NTID, the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, is kind of a partner with RIT. So like most of my classes, we had interpreters, and there's an entire college devoted to like hard of hearing and deaf people. And I worked on the website there. So I would walk down like the next building from my dorm, and I did web development. And PHP, Cold Fusion. It's terrible.
Cold Fusion.
It's a thing for web stuff.
You don't just...
All right.
Don't.
Just go on.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Christopher, do you have a question ready?
No.
Because I don't. Let's see.
What show is this?
I know. Well, we got the giggles, and then I got all distracted. Let's see. I think we probably met before this, but the first time I was like, this is Alvaro and he's cool, we should have him on the show, was when we took the champagne train to San Francisco with Emil at Tindy and Jen Castillo.
Yeah.
And I brought champagne in cans because
you can
that's the kind of class act I am, and you can drink on the train.
We're going to a party.
That was for one of the Hackaday Hardware Developers Didactic Galactic.
Yeah, we might have met at Sophie, the party Sophie did.
That was the Sophie party, yeah.
Yeah.
She set that up to announce last year's Hackaday prize.
Right.
Yeah. And it was fun.
Yeah.
But I have since found that you know like everyone. Like every time I'm like, have you met? Oh yeah, Alvaro. Hi, how are you? And you're just like, how does that work?
I don't know. I like talking to people.
What advice do you have for people who'd prefer to sit in the corner and play with their phones instead of dancing on the tables and hurting their legs?
I did not dance on the table this time.
This time.
No, I'm kind of like that too. When I don't know people, I'm actually pretty shy. Once I'm introduced to someone, all bets are off and you won't shut me up. But I am terrible at like introducing myself. That's why whenever I know people that I think are awesome, they don't know each other. I'm like, hey, talk to each other. And because if someone did that for me, I would talk to them. So I kind of feel like if you know people that are fun and they don't talk much, get them talking to each other and then leave.
And then leave. What good does that do you?
Well, it's gonna help other people meet each other, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, the core of that advice.
They'll do it to you another time, right? Maybe they'll know people and then they'll introduce you. When I don't know. I feel like.
No, the core of that, your advice there, I do agree and appreciate. It is a lot easier to say, hi, have you met my friend?
Yeah.
Instead of, hi, I'm somebody. It's just so much easier to push it off.
Or go meet someone with a friend. Like, oh, let's go introduce ourselves. Or just, it's less creepy when it's not just you. If it's a group of people, like, oh, look, there's someone over there. Let's go talk to them. But if it's just me, I just stand there.
Groups are the worst. How do you break into a group?
No. So let's say there's one person there, but I don't want to just go by myself. I'm like, hi, look who I am. I don't know. I got my friends. And it's like, hey, let's go talk to that person.
So who should I have on the show next year? You were the one who suggested Natalie, and she was great.
Yeah, Natalie's awesome. Wow, there's a few people. I should have written. I thought about these on the way over, and
All right.
I will. Have you talked to anyone from Punch Through Design?
No.
Okay. Well, they're great.
Okay.
They're also, they do the Light Blue Bean.
Oh yeah, were they at the Hackaday thing this week?
Yeah.
The hardware developers died. Why did you name it that, Chris Gamble?
It might have been Matt Brethren.
Both of you.
Yes, you know them both. So, but yeah, they're great. Let's see.
It's okay. I didn't really mean to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, I'll get you a list.
And you have been working on a new project, Silta?
Oh, yeah. That started 2 weeks ago. Yes. That's actually bridge in Finnish. The word Silta means bridge.
Oh.
In Finnish.
In Finnish. Okay.
The language. Yes.
Sorry, I thought we were finishing something.
No. And Finnish. Done. No. The word Silta is... I worked in Finland for a bit, and they have a really cool and weird language. And so I have this project that's... I don't know if you've used the Bus Pirate.
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically when you're working with a sensor, you need I2C or SPI. You either have to get another device that speaks that and then write some code and then test out the sensor and, is my I2C code not working or is the sensor not working? And it takes a while. So there's tools that you can buy to do this, but I didn't have any. So I had a lot of STM32 F4 discovery boards, and I've used them a lot. So I'm pretty familiar. I already have code to get a USB console up and running. And so I made these bridge that basically lets you talk I2C, SPI, toggle GPIOs, do analog inputs, digital outputs, all through USB. And you can do like a serial terminal, just type the commands in, or I wrote a Python wrapper around it. So you can just open this Silta bridge and say whatever .I2C, and you give it a list, and then it sends the packet out, and then you can prototype sensors. Really, actually, I'm using this at work for testing stuff. But Planet is totally okay with me doing open source things, so it's great.
And so you put this on GitHub or
Yes,
Hackaday? Or?
That's on GitHub right now. There's no documentation at the moment.
Oh, I see.
I will document it.
All right.
Well, there's a README file with how to use it, but I haven't documented all the functions and stuff. It's been kind of I mostly work on it on the train, actually.
It's been a busy 6 weeks since you started a new job.
Yeah. It's been crazy because the Hackaday conference thing happened, and I thought it was going to be a lot smaller.
Right. It was small.
I know, but they said, if you give a talk, we'll give you a free ticket. I'm like, okay, well, we can get a free ticket. And then I found like it was a few hundred people, and like, that's a lot for me.
You talked about the laser turreting system.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I submitted 2 talks. I submitted either quadcopters or the Proto-X reverse engineering or the robot. And they asked me which one I wanted to do, which I said both, but there's no time. And I had to
you
pick
said it
one.
depends because
It depends on the audience. Everything depends. It's all relative, right? They said it was more about making. So making laser shooting robots, I would consider making. Proto-X, I would consider hacking because I'm like taking it apart. I'm not producing anything quadcoptery, but I'm like figuring out how it works. I did write some software on the side, but I guess that's how I differentiate it. With making, it's like something completely new from scratch that I built, and hacking, I'm modifying something to make it do something else.
We're taking it apart to understand it.
And then modifying.
And then modifying it to
But
do
yes.
something else.
Yeah, that was actually... Oh, I know why I did the quadcopter now. It was Micah's Coastermelt.
Yeah, the DVD writer project.
That blew my mind when I saw those videos, and she got firmware, dumped the firmware, and then put it in a like bitmap file or something, and then you could visualize it, and you could see, oh, here's the instruction and this and that. That just blew my mind. So I wanted to learn reverse engineering with a simpler project, and I happen to have the quadcopter. Okay, I do remember now.
It wasn't just the drinking.
So did you end up
drinking?
using... What? I'm asking a question now.
Yeah, okay.
So did you end up using those techniques on that project, or did you start hacking it and then just do your own thing?
It was mostly my own thing. It was just to learn. It was mostly inspiration because those are much more advanced than I've never like decompiled with IR these encrypted firmware and I thought I might get to that point, but I didn't have to. So I never had to dump the firmware because I just tapped the radio and it was a lot easier that way. But yeah, that's what the inspiration was.
No, that was a very inspiring video because it was like, this is possible? Why didn't I think this was possible? Of course it was possible, but I didn't ever think.
Yeah, Micah does some of the coolest stuff. Whatever is going on right now with, just follow Micah on Twitter.
She's got some neat art thing
when
going.
I watched those videos, I thought it was science fiction.
Actually,
because it was just this, I've done this kind of engineering stuff for a long, long time, and then watching that, I was like, okay, that's what?
Yeah,
what?
Oh, I'm debugging with the power button or something.
And yet, it was all like, it wasn't 50 steps beyond where I couldn't understand it.
No, but it was a different way of thinking.
Yes, it was very different.
Yeah,
and neat.
Yeah, that was super, super cool.
Okay. You brought things.
Oh, they're upstairs.
Oh, all right. Well, tell us about the things you brought us to play with.
Pretend you have them because nobody can see.
Yes, they don't know. I'm telling you.
I brought some stereo pictures of the moon.
Yeah.
From 1949.
Yeah. So this just gets weirder and weirder.
Yes. And I guess people, until you see it, it's hard to understand, but you can't just take a stereo camera and take a picture of the moon and it'll be in 3D because it's too far.
It's very far.
Yes.
There's no difference between your eyes.
But this is kind of a viewer where you look at it and you can see the craters and everything. And
it's sort of like a professional version of a Viewmaster.
You can see the curvature is really pronounced.
Yes. Yeah, so you can see the curvature of the moon and the craters and everything. And this was actually done by my great-grandfather in 1949. And some of the pictures, for example, the left eye was the left picture was taken in February, and then the right picture was taken in August. And he has it's not absolute latitude and longitudes, but it's a difference between the 2 points. But basically, he had to travel a great distance and get the timing just right to take these stereo pictures of the moon. And not just, he tried just doing the distance thing, but that didn't quite work. He also had to take into account the position of the moon, because I guess it shows you a little bit different sides depending on the time.
Well, you can't just take a picture, get in your car, drive for a few hours until you're far enough away.
Because the moon
and
moves.
Then take another picture because...
Yeah, it follows you.
Darn moon, it just keeps going.
Yeah, so my dad just mailed me that this week, and he asked me to figure it out and see if my friends could figure it out. So I'm going to try to figure out how to scan the photos, and we already have all the other information. I'll put it online at some point and see if the internet can figure it out.
Well, then figure out how to do this again with digital photos. That would be sort of neat.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So I don't know if it'd be much easier. Because I was thinking, we could take a picture at the same time from two different places, but that might not be good enough because then you won't get the moon different sides, right? So that might not be quite the same.
This is the resounding silence of us all trying to figure out if this would work. I mean, he didn't have GPS there, so he had to do...
GPS didn't exist.
Exactly.
We hadn't even been to the moon, right? Like the moon, this is pre-polluted moon,
Before that darn Armstrong got there.
I sent it to some friends at work, and the first thing they say, that's before it was littered with robots and illegally parked vehicles.
Yeah. Christopher, do you think if we...
I don't know.
If we talk to people on the East Coast...
You play Kerbal, right? You can figure this out.
Well, what?
You have a degree in physics.
Keep reminding me. I was just wondering about, you were mentioning the shift of the rotation of the slight shift in rotation. It's called libration. And I don't know if that really matters as much because, I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, because even if you're 100 miles apart, relative to the distance to the moon, that's not that much, right?
Well, I was thinking 2,000-3,000 miles apart.
Yeah.
But then I guess you'd have to wait. Then you wouldn't do it at the same time, right? Because...
You'd have to do an hour after moonrise or whatever.
Yeah.
It reminds me of some imaging techniques that astronomers do sometimes when looking at distant objects, is they actually take advantage of the Earth being in different places.
The parallax.
In the orbit, so they can take quasi-stereo images, but they can see the object moving more or less depending on how far away it is. But that'd be an interesting project.
If you figured it out without computers and GPS, we should be able to. I don't know if we will be able to.
I think I was saying before, it's kind of embarrassing. We think we're so damn smart. And
I don't think that. I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Film camera and some paper and a map. And
well, that's what I want to also figure out. The coordinates are relative. It doesn't have an absolute latitude and longitude. Maybe I could figure out where he did take the pictures because we know where the moon was at that time. He actually used a weird time zone. It says GCT, which I think was something...
Gibraltar.
Civil time. And apparently that was a thing back then. I don't know. So we got to figure that out too. What time base was he using?
It's a little mystery.
Sorry, I'm trying to frantically solve this all with Wikipedia in my head, and I keep coming up with 404s.
Oh, I get 500 server errors.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to go play with that now.
It's.
Do you have any more questions, Christopher? No, just thanks. Thanks for shaking your head for that.
That's the one thing that doesn't hurt when I move.
Oh,
your head?
Yes. Poor Christopher.
Never sneeze.
We're never getting a Christmas tree.
Never sneeze and never get old.
You can get a little Christmas. Oh, I have ideas for Christmas trees. So.
Yeah, this from the person who's only got one working leg.
Well, no, I have like 4.5 meters left of the RGB LED strip. So I was gonna coil it, do like a kind of spiral. Just have like a wire.
Yeah, no, they actually sell those.
That's no fun.
Well, and
I never want to find out people sell things, and then you don't want to do it.
Exactly. And I was like,
you were all sad when somebody was finally selling my idea from 2004.
Well, I know that's because
you could have sold it.
You could have made a lot of money on it.
Yeah. Did you see the little sad corner they were in?
That's just my greed.
Yeah. All
right. No, I don't do Christmas trees anyway. So it's like I might have done it just because it was cool, but it's been done that. No.
Sorry.
That's okay. I have too many other things I want to do.
Exactly. Do you have something else you're excited about?
Yeah.
The moon data project sounds very cool, but that's not hardware. So
No, that's different. Well, at Hackaday conference, I met Michael Osman, and he had not the Hackaday badge. He had something else he was wearing, and I asked him, and it was purple board, of course, Oshpark. And he said, "Oh, this is the great FET. It's like the good FET, but great." And I asked him, what does this do? And then he said, "Oh, this is a I just started working on it. It's going to be kind of a prototyping device that, you use USB and Python, and then you get I2C." So, but this one has high-speed USB. It's got the LPC 3 something or other that has a dual-core processor and all sorts of cool things. Oh, high-speed USB 5 built in, which is way cool. So this is a kind of like Silta, but better. So I want to kind of do that instead and actually do it right and fast and awesome. And he's got a bunch of connected boards you can connect to, like with radios and all these other things. And it'd be cool to work with other people for a change.
It is motivating. It is hard to.
Yes.
Sometimes it's hard to do stuff on your own.
Yeah, no, that's why I post everything online, because otherwise I'll do something and they're like, "Oh, I'll do something else." But if people are like, "Oh, that's cool," then that is really encouraging. I mean, one of my other projects that it's pure software. It's I don't know if you use Skype at all. Mm-hmm. You can leave video messages. So let's say you're not there, someone calls you, you can leave them a video message. And I didn't know about this. And then my uncle was a couple of years ago said, "Oh, do you know how to export and save the video messages?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure you just right click it and save as." No, you can't. You can't save the video messages. And then I found out they're not even stored on your computer. You download them from just Skype servers every time. So I looked into it because I was trying to help my uncle, and I found out there's some SQLite database in your computer with some URLs, and then you could go copy that URL and download it. So I wrote an app to automatically do that, and just you run this, it opens your Skype database, it finds the links, and then it just downloads them. And I sent it to my uncle, and he was super happy. So I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll post this online. Someone else might be interested." So I put it on the Skype forums, and this was for Mac, of course, because that's what I was working on at the time. And then it became one of the top Mac posts because everyone was trying to figure out how to do it. And everyone was so thankful about these, like, "Oh, I can now export my messages," because not everyone can go open an SQLite database and figure this out. So if it's like my grandma or something. And I thought that was great. That I'm really glad I worked on this project. And then I get a message, one of those, my dad just died and he'd left me a video message.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was able to export it, and now I have it forever kind of thing. And then it was like, "Oh, okay. Like, yeah, that makes it all worth it." Which if I hadn't published it, I don't know, but it makes me want to make more of these things.
Having people to talk to and having people encourage you is, I think, critical to getting us through those times when it'd be more fun to go to the beach or to read a book or have a beer and watch TV. And so it isn't external motivation. It's still internal motivation, but it's encouragement. Encouragement makes the world go round.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I love movies, so I watch tons of movies, but
oh, so do we.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it isn't useful to sit down with the beer and TV. It's totally.
Well, you got to turn off the brain for a while.
Sometimes, it's also fun to build something just because you want to, or because you have an uncle who says, "I have this problem."
Yeah.
Like,
that's the most fun when you're helping people like solve problems. That's the best. Which I don't usually do, like with lasers. That's kind of just for fun. But occasionally, I do
helping people
things.
solve problems and shooting lasers. Those are the best.
Yeah.
And quadcopters.
Quadcopters are a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right. I think we'll close it up. Do you have any final thoughts, Alvaro?
I just need an Advil.
Oh, lucky. I can't take Advil, so I'm allergic. Final thought.
I can't believe I'm the only able-bodied person in this room.
Or we can add each other.
No, I'm useless from the...
I'll take your leg and we'll have a half useful. Final thought. Don't be afraid to make stuff, I guess. I mean, a lot of my home projects have been in areas I know nothing about, and that's the ones have been the most fun, whether it's laser shooting robots or quadcopters or even the Skype thing. I mean, I knew nothing about SQLite and all these things. The most fun projects are the ones that have been most like enriching. I guess, like, yeah, my best projects have been the ones I did knowing nothing about it. And I feel like some people are not inclined to work on things because they don't have the experience.
Or they're afraid to break something.
Oh, just break it.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I'm learning that breaking things is actually kind of fun.
Yeah, I've given up. It's worth just breaking it and learning from it. And then just record it. If you are going to break something, including yourself, record it. That way you can put it on YouTube for other people to learn. Yeah, that's my final thought.
Is there a video of you dancing?
I hope not. Maybe. I don't know.
Come on, Patrick at Planet Labs. Come up with this video for us. We'll link to it. My guest has been Alvaro Prieto, engineer at Planet Labs and maker and hacker.
It depends.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to Christopher for producing and co-hosting despite his extreme pain. And thank you for listening. Hit the contact link on Embedded FM if you'd like to say hello, or email us, show@embedded.fm. And I think that's enough for this week. We may all need some more Advil. Or beer. We'll see. So the final thought to tide you over until next week is from Frida Kahlo. I used to think I was the strangest person in the world, but then I thought there were so many people in the world. There must be someone just like me who feels bizarre and flawed in the same ways I do. I would imagine her and imagine that she must be out there thinking of me too. Well, I hope that if you are out there and read this and know that, yes, it's true, I'm here, and I'm just as strange as you. Embedded FM is an independently produced radio show that focuses on the many aspects of engineering. It is a production of Logical Elegance, an embedded software consulting company in California. If there are advertisements in the show, we did not put them there. Do not receive any revenue from them. At this time, our sole sponsor remains Logical Elegance.